What's up, guys? How we doing tonight? Got another Q&A going. We're going for 30 minutes tonight. We're going till 8 p.m. Eastern when the Florida and Wisconsin game kicks off. You guys see me all right? Yeah, I was hoping we were going to be able to do one last week. That ended up not working out as well. Something came up with my family, so I wasn't able to do that. But guess what? We're doing one this week. I'm going to try to do as many Sundays as I can. We'll try to go right around the same time, I'd assume, right before the simulation game. So that's kind of how that's going to work. What's up, guys? What's up, Gavin, CRC? Hit me up with some questions. We're going to get going. What's up, Lions fan? Another thing is, I was going to say this last week too. Sorry that I haven't really been able to be in the chat recently. Obviously, I've been working a ton, and with school and stuff and cross country, it's been pretty busy for me. So, yeah, it's been pretty tough for me to be able to be in the streams, but I'll be trying my best this week. I do work a couple of days this week. Like tomorrow I do, and then Wednesday I do. So I'm going to try my best, guys. Just stay tuned. King Mike, do I have Madden 21? I actually don't. Has that came out yet? I mean, I do know I have Madden 20, but yeah, otherwise I do not know. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the 98 team divisional tournament. That's going to be a fun one for sure. Having 98 teams, I personally think this is going to be bigger than the 64 team tournament. I mean, if you look at the 64 team tournament, obviously it's a great idea and stuff, but it's just very generic. I mean, really, a 64 team tournament's pretty. It's pretty generic. I mean, college basketball does it obviously, and it always is a great turnout for sure. It's always a great tournament. And so, yeah, for college football, I think it's really fun to do a 64-team tournament for that. We're going to continue to do one in the future. It's just a matter of when. I mean, I'll probably do one sometime, maybe next spring. We'll have to see. But yeah, this 84 team or this 98 team divisional tournament is going to be lasting all the way through December. So this is going to be taking us quite a while into the future. So it's going to be pretty cool to see that. And yeah, I hope you guys are all excited for it as well. I mean, I've heard some great feedback on this, so going to be really fun. Looking forward to it. Once again, another thing is the tournament challenge for you guys that are in the tournament challenge for the upcoming season, for the upcoming tournament. That is actually, the brackets for that is actually going to be closing in just about an hour. We're going to be closing the brackets for those at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be 7:30 p.m. Central, etc. So yeah, make sure you got your brackets filled out. I'm sure most of you guys do at this point. Yeah, just so you guys know, though, that's going to be closing up pretty quick. That is a change from the original plan to close it tomorrow night. It just works for me better to be able to get all the standings and everything figured out as we move forward. So that's kind of what the reasoning was behind that. Seahawks fan Gordo AST, did you watch the yesterday first football game? Yeah, I did watch the football game last night. I actually had to work, so I really didn't get to see the first half. But yeah, all around, I mean, it was great to see some football last night. I mean, I don't care what teams it is, it's just good to see some football coming back. And I mean, if you look back at the last time that I did Q&A, that was right before the Big Ten and the Pac-12 decided to cancel off their seasons. So, yeah, we were all excited for the season and stuff, and that turned a full 180 pretty quick. But, yeah, obviously, I mean, yeah, it's pretty rough to see the Big Ten and the Pac-12 not playing. I mean, I'm not as big of a fan of their decision-making behind that. I mean, obviously, this is very political. I'm sure all of you guys have different decisions on that, and all of you guys have different thoughts. But in my opinion, I just think, I mean, I understand that this is a dangerous virus, but I mean, we gotta move on at some point. And I think in general, I mean, it's just a really tough situation, very unprecedented situation, and yeah, it's honestly just all a mess right now. Do you think the Bucks are going to get embarrassed by Jimmy in the Heat? That's a good question. Honestly, I'm not much of an NBA fan. I mean, I sometimes follow it, but I mean, I definitely don't. Like, I couldn't do any analysis on it. But yeah, I definitely, me being a Bucks fan, I would like to see them go all the way. And I think in general, they're looking very good right now. And I mean, they did lose game 1 to the Magic, but they ended up turning that around. So you know, hopefully that continues for them. That's kind of what I'm hoping. What's your predictions for Auburn, Jaden? For Auburn this season, I mean, with Bo Nix at quarterback, they're looking pretty good. I mean, they got a very young team and a lot of talent with that as well. I mean, yeah, they're definitely a team that I think will be one of the better ones in the SEC next season. And obviously, I mean, everything is still very unprecedented. But yeah, I think Auburn definitely, I don't think that they're going to win their division by any means, but I definitely think that they've got a chance to do some good damage, possibly get a few good wins in general. And yeah, it's going to be fun to see how they do. Yeah, even North Texas is in there. Yep, the 98 team tournament has got quite a few teams. We're only leaving out like 20. How many would it be? It'd be 20 to 30 FBS teams that we're leaving out. So yeah, we're including quite a few teams in this tournament. So it's gonna be pretty cool to see who comes out on top for sure. I'm confident with my bracket. Good. Yeah. Obviously, once again, the tournament challenge closes in 1 hour. So yeah, that's coming up pretty quick. I'd encourage you guys to get your brackets filled out and ready to go. Let me see here. Did you see Jamal Chase opted out of the season? Yeah, good catch there, James. I was going to talk about that actually. Yeah, that is huge for LSU. That is going to have a huge impact on how LSU does this season. Obviously, they're already losing Joe Burrow, and that's going to be big enough of a loss to boot. And now you're losing your top receiver and quite possibly a top 5 in the 2021 NFL draft in Jamal Chase. That is going to be a brutal loss for LSU going into next season, and that's gonna be really tough. I mean, especially for it's just gonna be a really tough loss there, especially once again with losing Joe Burrow, your star quarterback who went number 1 overall in the previous NFL draft. That's already gonna be tough enough, and now you're losing your top receiver. I mean, I thought in general LSU could have been in a normal season. They could have easily been 11 they could have easily been an 11-1 team, and obviously that's not going to happen anymore with all the schedule changes. But yeah, definitely with now having Jamar Chase not in there anymore, there's going to be some big. Yeah, you're going to see some struggles by that offense, and I definitely think. I mean, they still have a lot of talent on that team, no doubt. They still have a lot of NFL type of talent, but I just think now with losing Jamar Chase, that's going to be really tough for LSU to deal with. And so yeah, good question, James. Yeah, it's going to be really tough for them next season to lose him. And honestly, I definitely do favor Alabama to win their division next season, considering LSU will not be having Jamar Chase. That's definitely going to be a big hit on their team in general next season. So, yeah, good question, James. Yeah, Jamar Chase, top 5 draft pick. I definitely think so too. I mean, yeah, if you look at his stats from last season, I think he had, correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong on this, but I think he had 1,500 yards, 1,500 total yards last season. He was easily one of the best receivers in all of college football last season. So yeah, that's going to be a very tough loss for LSU going into next season. LSU is going to get 3 losses now. I mean, yeah, CRC. I mean, I somewhat agree with that. I don't know. I mean, once again, with all the schedule changes, it's so tough to say. But if we were looking at a normal season, honestly, now with having both of them being gone, I mean, if it were a normal 12-game season, I could see LSU possibly going 9-3, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's going to be very detrimental for them moving forward. Do you think Bama could beat Georgia by 3? I'm not sure by 3, but obviously Bama could easily beat Georgia. I think Alabama in general probably would be my favorite to probably win the SEC next season. I mean, you got a couple of good teams in there, Georgia and Florida. One of those 2 teams will easily win that one division in the SEC. But as far as the West Division goes, I mean, yeah, Alabama is definitely my favorite, and I think them in general. That's going to be a fun game between Alabama and Georgia, but I just don't think that, I mean, Georgia could easily win. That's just a really tough game to predict. I'd have to look through all the stats and stuff to give you a clear-cut decision on that, but I'd say Alabama definitely would be a favorite to possibly get a win there. But in general, yeah, that would be a tough game there. If I had to guess right now, who is going to win the next college basketball March Madness? That's a really tough. Yeah, I mean, obviously last season, I mean, it would have been a really fun tournament for sure. I mean, seeing Dayton as the number 1 seed, man, that would have been so cool. And I think Dayton in general could have had a major chance to possibly win the entire tournament last year. And that would have been crazy to see Dayton of all teams get a win in a national championship. That would have been awesome. Yeah, that would have been really cool. It's such a shame that we didn't get to see an actual tournament. And looking back at March, yeah, obviously, I mean, that was part of the reason why I decided to put on a March Madness tournament in general, was because of Dayton. I really wanted to see how far they'd be able to get, which in our simulated tournament, I mean, they didn't really make it too far. I think, well, actually, no, they did make it to the Elite 8, if I remember right. My memory is kind of foggy on that. But I think, yeah, in general, I think Dayton could have easily been a really good team in that tournament. They could have easily gone very far, too. I'm talking, they could have gone to the Elite 8, possibly Final 4. So, Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were a team last season that was very good, and considering now, considering all the losses that they just had a perfect team last season, and I don't think that they're going to have that back going into next season. So I don't really expect Dayton to be a 1 seed if we do see a March Madness tournament in 2021, but I definitely think that they would be, or they would have been for this season at least. When was the last time I got a haircut? Good question, Michael. I think next week I'm actually supposed to get one. So yeah, that's a kind of a random question. That's a good one. What do you like better, football or basketball? Good question by Gavin as well. I mean, I definitely think. I mean, I watch football definitely more, but I mean, basketball is definitely a fun sport to watch as well. It's just kind of tough for me to keep up with it because of how many games there are on a regular basis. But yeah, in general, I'd probably say I like football better. And if you're talking about football in the NFL, I'd probably say college football because yeah, college football in general. I mean, with all the upsets and everything, it's pretty fun to watch. And I mean, the NFL is great and all, and I am really happy that we're going to be seeing probably a full NFL season coming up. But yeah, in general, I definitely think that yeah, college football in general, I'd say is better. But basketball, once again, basketball is also a fun sport. But if I were to pick at the end of the day between both of them, yeah, I'd probably say football definitely. Um, Gavin, I followed you on Instagram. Okay, thank you, Gavin. I appreciate that. Yeah, obviously, all the links to those are in the description below. I encourage you guys, if you guys have Instagram, obviously, I really don't post on there very much, but I'm gonna try to start to. I definitely think that that's part of the reason why. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be a big help if we could get that going. But yeah, I definitely think that yeah, if you could follow me, link to that is in the description below. So yeah. Do you have any NBA jerseys? I definitely do not. I mean, once again, I follow the NBA, but I don't follow it all that close. So, yeah, in general, I mean, not really. But yeah, I am a Bucks fan. If you were to ask me what my favorite team was, I'd have to say that. My favorite college team is Nebraska, obviously. I mean, I got a couple posters back here, but yeah, Nebraska would be my favorite college team. As far as NFL teams go, I'd probably just say the Packers are my favorite team. So mainly my favorite professional teams are all in the state of Wisconsin, which is kind of interesting, actually. So yeah, I'm sure most of you guys didn't know that about me. But yeah, football, basketball. Once again, I said football. What are your thoughts on the Steelers next season? I mean, the Steelers next season are looking decent. I definitely think with having Ben Roethlisberger back, if he's able to stay healthy, obviously he had a big injury from last season, and that was a big part of the reason why the Steelers were not very good in 2019. But if he's able to be better and if he's able to stay healthy, I definitely think that the Steelers next season could easily be one of the better teams in their division. They could easily win the AFC North division. And I also think that the Steelers in general, I mean, they've got a lot of talent there as well. I mean, you can't forget about like the offense they have in general. I mean, last season, obviously with James Conner, he didn't have as good of a season, but if he does in 2020, that would be big for the Steelers. And I think that they are a playoff team. I mean, you got a tough division in there with the Bengals. Watch out for them. They could be a sleeper next season with Joe Burrow. Like, I'm not talking that they'll be a playoff team, but I definitely think, I mean, next season they could easily get up to 5 or 6 wins. And then you got the Ravens, obviously, probably with the easiest, I'd say probably the easiest schedule in all of the NFL. Obviously, there's a few stats to back that up. Yeah, I'd say the Ravens as well. They'd probably be right up there with Pittsburgh to possibly win that division. And I think the Ravens in general are a Super Bowl contender. So, yeah, either the Ravens or the Steelers should win that division next season. I'd say the Steelers, though, definitely do have a shot to stay right up there with the Ravens, possibly beat them once this season. I don't think that there will be a sweep by any means, but I think that the Steelers definitely, especially if Big Ben can stay healthy, will be a good team next season. Yeah, in general, yeah, once again, it'd be really interesting to see how that works out. But would you be surprised if Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with the Bucks and that loaded offense? I would not be surprised a single bit. And the reason why I say that is that Tom Brady obviously has won as many Super Bowls as he has, and he's had an incredible career. I honestly do believe that he's probably the best quarterback that has ever been in the NFL and probably the best quarterback of all time. And if you look at his history and how many Super Bowls he's won, there's plenty of evidence to back that up. But would I be surprised? I wouldn't be at all. I mean, obviously with the Buccaneers, they've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, great offense in general. I mean, the running back core is kind of so-so, but obviously I definitely think that the Buccaneers in general, I mean, that offense is looking very good. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to have good enough chemistry there in order to have a Super Bowl season, which I definitely think they've got a great chance to do so. I mean, once again, with as good of an offense as they have, and their defense too. Do not sleep on their defense. Their defense honestly was the bright spot of their team last season. So, yeah, watch out for the Buccaneers team in general. I definitely think, like, do I think they'll win the Super Bowl next season? Would they be my first pick to win it? Probably not, but I definitely think that they're probably in the top 10, I would say, as far as chances of winning it goes. Yeah, watch out for them for sure. They're definitely a sleeper next season. Are you in high school, Jaden? Yes, I am. I am a senior in high school. Do you think Nebraska could survive in the SEC East? Kind of a random question, but I mean, yeah, I think Nebraska, obviously, I mean, in the Big Ten, it's really hard to compare two conferences. I will say that right off the bat. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC are two very different conferences. I mean, I definitely think they're probably both the best Power Five conferences. Like I'd say the SEC and the Big Ten would be your two best conferences in all of the FBS, and you could pull that up with the Pac-12, Big 12, ACC, etc. But would they survive in the SEC East? Obviously, they would survive, but I just don't think they do very well. I think Florida and Georgia easily would be better than Nebraska. I mean, Tennessee's also in there. I think Tennessee would be better than them. So, I mean, out of 7 teams, they probably finish, I'd say, 4th or 5th. But yeah, I definitely think, I mean, Nebraska next season, if they were to play, I mean, Nebraska could have been a decent team. I think that they could have been a bowl team for sure. I was thinking, I mean, if you look at my prediction videos before everything hit the fan and before everything happened with the Big Ten, I'd probably say, yeah, Nebraska would probably be a 7-5 team last season. I think I predicted 7-5 in my prediction video for them. So yeah, I did expect them to be a decent team. What else we got? Yeah, Detroit Lions winning the NFC Northwest branch. That is honestly kind of what I mean. There's a chance that could happen. Call me crazy, but the Detroit Lions, I mean, that is a team to watch out for. With Matthew Stafford, if he can stay healthy, they're kind of in the same position as the Steelers are in that fact. As that, I mean, they had a great quarterback that was injured for the majority of last season, and if he's back, then they could easily have a good season. And I think for the Lions, Matthew Stafford obviously is a quarterback that, I mean, he's had some good seasons, but I think in general, Matthew Stafford is an underrated quarterback. Obviously, he's not much of a rusher, so that does kind of give him a little bit of a downside. But in general, the Lions next season could be a good team. Watch out for that. I think that they could be. I mean, obviously, you get the Packers, the Vikings in there as well. The Bears have no chance of winning that division this season. I'd say the Bears are probably going to finish last in that division. But the Lions definitely could be right up there with the Packers and the Vikings. No one's talking about them, but they've got the talent there. So, yeah, good point out by West Branch there. I definitely think the Lions have a chance. I don't think that they will, but I think they've got a chance of winning that NFC North division this upcoming season. What's up, Jonathan? Welcome in. What else we got? Who do I got winning the NFC West? That's also a good question. Obviously, you got the 49ers in there. You've got you got the Seahawks. They're looking very good. I'd say it's either going to be one of those teams between the Seahawks and the 49ers, kind of like how it was last season. I mean, with the 49ers, they were looking pretty good or they were great last season is what I should say. I mean, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and that's something that many teams have obviously never done before. So, yeah, I definitely think with Jimmy Garoppolo in there at quarterback, he looked very good in his first full season as a starting quarterback. I mean, obviously he was pretty good back then in 2017, and then of course he was injured for the majority of the 2018 season. And in 2019, obviously, I mean, yeah, he's definitely a quarterback that I think should be respected a lot more and talked about a lot more as well. I mean, for him to do what he did in basically his first season with being with the 49ers, yeah, it's very, very impressive. And I think the 49ers in general probably would win that division next season. But then again, if they have something happen like the Rams did after their 2018 season and they kind of drop off, the Seahawks definitely would be the next one up in there to possibly win that division. I mean, if you look at as far as the consistency goes with all 4 of those teams and the NFC West, I mean, the Cardinals completely out of the picture. I don't expect them to even contend in the NFC West. But as far as other teams, I mean, yeah, once again, with the Seahawks, they're easily the most consistent team right now in that division. So it'd be the safest bet to say the Seahawks would win that division. But, yeah, the 49ers easily should be up there as well. I definitely think that both of those teams have a good chance to win that division. Yeah, are the Buccaneers overrated? I mean, you could go back and forth on that. I mean, some experts are saying that they'll be like Super Bowl champion, 13-3 in the regular season. And to that, I think that's nonsense. I think the Buccaneers in general will be a good team. I don't think that they'll go 13-3 next season by any means. But I do think in general that they have a good chance to possibly put up 11 wins, maybe 12 if you're thinking pretty highly of them. But I definitely think, I mean, if you hear any analyst say that the Buccaneers will be winning the Super Bowl, I'd honestly say like there's a chance that they will win the Super Bowl. But to outright say that they'll beat out the Vikings, or not the Vikings, the Ravens, and like the Ravens and all those teams and the 49ers and the Packers and all the great teams, all the Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, that'd be nonsense. I don't think that the Buccaneers should be considered as a Super Bowl team right now, but I definitely think that they will be a playoff team and possibly a playoff contender. Who knows? Auburn is still underrated this season. Yeah, I mean, Auburn is somewhat underrated. I mean, once again, with Bo Nix at quarterback, he's looking very good going into next season, so watch out for him. He's also very young. Don't forget about that. For him to put up the stats that he did in his true freshman season was very impressive by Auburn, and he's got a very bright future ahead of him, I really do believe. Yeah, who do you think will win the Celtics and Raptors series? Good question. I don't really follow the NBA very much, and I think they did play today, if I'm right, and I can't really remember who won. But yeah, I definitely think that will be a good series for sure. And honestly, the NBA situation, it was pretty crazy back last Wednesday when we saw some games being canceled. Obviously, with all the stuff that's happening right now, yeah, that was pretty crazy to see. I mean, obviously that happened way back with the COVID situation as well. So it's just such a weird time in sports for sure. And yeah, I can't wait till 2021 when everything's back to normal, or I hope it'll be back to normal. Honestly, I don't think that we'll see anything back to the normal that we've seen for the past few decades in quite a while. I think the NCAA, we could see some conferences. I mean, I'm calling it right here. I think we're going to see some conferences possibly split away from the NCAA in the near future after all this COVID stuff is over with. I mean, it just totally makes sense in this scenario. And obviously, I mean, we've heard from most conferences that they just do not like being a part of the NCAA. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I mean, it's just going to be a crazy next few months coming up for sure, especially with how the football season's all going to work. Bo Nix must improve for Auburn to be good this year. James, yeah, I totally agree. I definitely think so too. I think Bo Nix is a great quarterback for sure. But yeah, he definitely does need to improve. If Auburn's going to be a team that wins a national championship in 2021, that would have to be because Bo Nix would have to improve a ton. Yeah, all around, yeah, I definitely think Auburn will be a good team this season. I just don't think they'll be able to win that division in general. 49ers have a great defense. I totally agree. Yeah, 49ers, they really do. I mean, if you look at their offense, if that can just be improved, and if they can have a good offense as well as their defense, they should be a Super Bowl contender again this season. But once again, sometimes you see those NFL teams that have a big, like a major 1 year. They make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and then the next season they kind of drop off. And we've got a perfect example of that, and that would be the Los Angeles Rams from the 2018 season. I mean, once again, if you look back at that, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl in 2018. And then this last season in 2019, they were absolutely horrible. I think they finished third in the NFC West. So, I mean, could we see that out of the Ravens? Could we see that out of the 49ers these upcoming seasons? There's a chance. I mean, I think both of those teams will be good. But, I mean, who knows? Once again, you kind of see that happen with some teams every once in a while. Who do you think is the most overrated player coming into the next college football season? Honestly, there's no one really that stands out as an overrated player. I mean, obviously you've got Trevor Lawrence, who easily should be the Heisman winner now, considering Justin Fields can't play because the Big Ten decided to cancel their football. But yeah, I definitely think Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he should win the Heisman. But as far as overrated players go, I really don't know. I don't think there's really anyone that stands out as an overrated player to me. I mean, there are several underrated players, and I could give you one right now, and that's Kyle Trask out of Florida. He's easily the most underrated player, I would say, in all of college football. I mean, if you look at Kyle Trask and his stats that he put up last season, considering Kyle Trask, let me remind you, I mean, he was not expected to play at all last season. He was only back up to Felipe Franks last season, who was their original starting quarterback last season for Florida. And once Felipe Franks went down with an injury, Kyle Trask was thrown in. And, I mean, yeah, it was pretty crazy to see that. And Kyle Trask, for him to have as good of a season as he did, considering he probably wasn't even planning on playing, yeah, he's got tremendous upside, and he could easily be, he definitely is the most underrated quarterback, I do believe, in college football going into next season, even if we saw all teams playing. So That's definitely your most underrated player. But as far as overrated players go, I mean, I don't know. James points out Jamie Newman. He could be an underrated or an overrated player. I think Jamie Newman next season. Honestly, James, that is a good point there. I think Jamie Newman, I mean, he was with Wake Forest last season, transferred into Georgia. So obviously, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big jump there from Wake Forest, who's like the smallest Power Five conference team, to Georgia, who's a national contender. So that's going to be a weird adjustment for Jamie Newman. But I think in general, I mean, would I say he's overrated? Yeah, I'd probably say he's overrated, but I wouldn't say he's extremely overrated by any means. I think Jamie Newman probably won't have as good of a season at Georgia, to be honest, as he did at Wake Forest, because, I mean, if you look at the ACC conference, you really only have one major team in there, and that is Clemson. Like, I'd argue that the American Athletic Conference could possibly beat out the ACC, especially if Clemson wasn't in the ACC. I mean, the American Athletic probably would be the better overall conference, but yeah, in general, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's pretty tough to say right now. But Jamie Newman definitely, I think, is a great quarterback, and I think he's going to have a decent season for Georgia. But the big question is he going to be able to have a better season? And to that, I say, who knows? I mean, Jamie Newman's a good quarterback, but will he survive in an SEC setting is a question that definitely is a tough one to answer right now. Everyone hating on Jamie from Jaden. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a good player for sure. I just don't know whether or not he's going to be able to fit in an SEC setting. So that does kind of concern me a little bit. In the next 5 years, do you think the New York Giants will make the playoffs? Another great question by Jonathan there. I think the Giants for sure should be a possible contender for the playoffs within the next 5 years at some point. I mean, Daniel Jones at quarterback, he's definitely got to improve a ton if the Giants will make it to the playoffs. And I think in general, with having Saquon in there, I mean, they already have a great running back, and they've got a great player to work their offense around, but it's just a matter of their defense. Their defense is absolutely horrible, and if they're going to be able to make it to the playoffs next season, they really got to, one, improve that defense, and two, they got to have Daniel Jones have a great season as well, and he needs to limit his interceptions, and he also needs to be a better player than Eli Manning was, especially from 2015 onward. So I think the Giants will make the playoffs. I would probably say within the next 5 years, it's likely, but I mean, I don't know. Once again, it's pretty tough to look 5 years into the future, but I think the Giants will be a contender for the playoffs. I just don't know whether or not they'll make it yet, but I definitely think that they've got a chance to put up a good season. What else we got? Yeah, we got 2 minutes until our fan requested simulation starts up between Wisconsin and Florida. So I'm going to take one more question. Send me one more, you guys, and we will be doing that. What team do you think has the potential to be the next LSU next year? Excellent question from CRC. That one's going to be that one that we will end off with. LSU next season, obviously, or last season, I would say the LSU of 2019 was easily one of the best teams I've ever seen, and I honestly think that they were one of the best teams of all time, I think for sure. I think that LSU of 2019 probably was the best team or the best college football team that we've seen in a couple of decades. And I definitely think, I mean, if you look at the players that they had, I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamal Chase, I mean, their defense has got several top NFL players as well. I mean, yeah, that team in general was so good last season, but who could be the next LSU next season? Very tough question. I don't think anyone next season is going to be up to the caliber that LSU was at last season, but I definitely think Clemson will be a great team for sure. It's really good that the ACC is still playing, but if Ohio State was still playing this upcoming season, Ohio State would easily be what I would say to be the next LSU. I mean, yeah, if you look at them, Justin Fields, last season was his first main season as a starting quarterback, and he was with LSU, or he was with Ohio State, obviously a team that was different than his one at Georgia. So, I mean, for him to do as well as he did in his first season at Ohio State, he only threw like 2 interceptions. He would easily be the next Joe Burrow, I would say, and I think Ohio State in general, if they were still playing, would easily be the next LSU. But if you're looking at teams that are still playing, I mean, Alabama should be good, but I don't think they're going to be as good as LSU from last season by any means. But, I mean, if you look at as far as other teams, I mean, LSU still can be decent. But I'd say Clemson is probably my early favorite to win the national championship next season with Trevor Lawrence. Very tough to deny that in general. But yeah, that about wraps up our second Q&A, guys. Thanks for stopping by here tonight. Thanks for asking some good questions. We are now going to be finishing up the simulation, which is between Wisconsin and Florida, starting up right now on the YouTube channel. So I hope to see you guys all there. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll have to do another one of these in the future. Okay, thanks again for watching. Have a good one, guys. I will see you all later.